Hey everyone, welcome to Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now in this video, I'm going to discuss a new interview with John Carpenter, where he opens up about how he feels regarding the sequels of Halloween and their potential impact on his legacy as the creator of the franchise. In addition, John also shares some insights on his criteria for a film score and also some specifics on scores that he has written for various films. And he even reveals what score he is most proud of in his storied career. Let's go! So the interview was conducted by Vulture.com, and I'm going to cover just a few highlights. Now, the headline reads, John Carpenter has only one criteria for a film score. And in the article, John Carpenter is asked, you have this thing with Halloween that doesn't come along often. This franchise is beloved across 5 decades. Do you have to be protective of that kind of legacy? Do you take it personally when one comes out and people don't like it? And John Carpenter responded by saying, no, I don't care. I don't really care. Now, for many people, this is not a huge surprise to have his response like this, because for many years now, John Carpenter's made it very clear that he'll, consider coming back to do the music and different things, for the check. Just for the money, because he never ever intended it to be any more than it was, just Halloween 78. So he's been, and he did, of course, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and he also helped with write Halloween 2, obviously. But outside of that, he really did not. So beyond the first 3 films, he's been pretty much hands-off, essentially, until the current David Gordon Green trilogy, where he came back and did the music for all 3 films. So it's not a huge surprise that, from that perspective. But what is interesting, though, is that he doesn't really care about these sequels. I mean, he just does not care about, the legacy. And really, he shouldn't, honestly, in my opinion. His first film, Halloween 78, is considered by the majority of fans and just the fandom in period in horror to be a masterpiece, and to be a slasher masterpiece film. It really is. It broke the door open and kind of elevated the genre to where a lot of films still to this day pay homage to the original 78. It's just, it's happening everywhere. It happens all the time. So definitely the legacy of Carpenter is there in that first film. And of course, again, he did, write the second film, as we know, with Deborah Hill. They wrote Halloween 2, and he wrote the screenplay for 3 and did the music. But as far as written and directed, it was Halloween 78. It was that first movie. So, and John's attitude pretty much, if you guys know and have been following him in interviews throughout the years, it's not a shock to hear him say this. He's pretty blunt. He's pretty much straight to the point. He doesn't beat around the bush. And he gave, that's his answer. No, I don't care. I don't really care. So it doesn't bother him what happens with these sequels, whether they're successful or not, because in his mind, by his own words, it was really Halloween 78 essentially was the one he cares the most about, I believe, of all of them. So anyway, it's interesting to hear him say it, though, on the record. So now you know that people are, especially in light of with Halloween Ends right now, how divisive of a movie it is and how much it split the fan base, pretty much 50-50, essentially, from all the polls I've done and streams I've been on. It really is right down the middle for fans. And to know that, this doesn't bother him. He does, whatever the performance is or the perception, I guess, is, it doesn't bother him. And he doesn't care. Because, he doesn't take it personally. So now later in the interview, I want to also bring this one up too. The question of Halloween 3 did come up. I was just mentioning it. and what could have been. The rest he did not have a hand in, basically what could have happened from that point had it been real successful. And so the article says, I don't think Halloween 3 gets the love it deserves. Would you be doing something else entirely if it took off? And Carpenter responded, that's correct. It didn't, but I wish it had, because we could start telling other stories. People wanted to see Michael Myers once again. So there you go. The Halloween movie I love the most is the one I made back in 1978, the one I directed. Others are other people's visions. That's the way it goes. That's what happens when you give up. I didn't want to direct sequels. I didn't think there was a story left. Boy, was I wrong, huh? And of course, we have 13 films, so there's 12 sequels. And yeah, so there you go. I mean, he's, like I said, it's not a super big surprise, but it is interesting to see that, kind of the vision that John Carpenter had for the future of Halloween. It all started with number 3, Season of the Witch, which again did not do well at the time. It was not received well at all because there was no Michael Myers. People went to that movie, went to a Halloween movie to see Michael, and he wasn't there. And that movie is so underrated. I really think it's a good film. If it had been named something other than Halloween, just Season of the Witch or some other name, The Witch, doesn't matter. What do you want to call it? The Mask. Although there was another movie by that name. I think it may have come out a little bit later. But anyway, point is, name it what you want. Just don't name it Halloween. And it would have been received much better, in my opinion. I think it would have been really received well. And, there you go. And so that's what John wanted to do. He wanted to do anthologies. He wanted to do more films with the Halloween name, but it was a different story. But obviously it didn't take off, and that was the end of that. So that was the original plan, though. But anyway, guys, the key, I guess, to know is no matter how you feel about Ends or any of the sequels, I mean, it's not just Ends. I mean, there's some other really divisive films. The zombie films are controversial. Halloween 6 is one that's not liked by a large portion of the fan base. So there's a lot of movies. Resurrection. You can add that. The list is long of controversial films in the franchise. So just know this, in case you didn't already. If you ever sit back and wonder, what does John Carpenter think about all this? Right? What is he? Do these films bug him when he sees his creation? Michael coming out in these movies that just may not hit the spot for you. Know this, he cleared it up in this article that he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. So it doesn't bother him at all. So don't feel bad for John Carpenter, at least from that perspective. All right, guys. Now listen, I want to know what you think about John Carpenter's comments. How do you feel? Tell me what you think. What are your opinions, your ideas, any feelings you have about those? I want to know. So start leaving your comments below in the comments section so we can discuss them together. Well, that's going to be all for this update, but I'll be back soon with more Halloween and other horror movie content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thank you for watching.